The AEC industry is rapidly changing, but your team doesn't have time to reinvent workflows for every new technology or client demand. ProjectWise, powered by iTwin, puts you in control and positions your firm for non-disruptive change. Whether you need to improve design quality, optimize existing processes, or even get started with digital delivery and digital twins, ProjectWise enables you to make the most of what you already have without starting over. Visit go.bentley.com/podcast to see how ProjectWise is empowering AEC firms to do more with less. Once again, that's go.bentley.com/podcast to learn more.
Welcome to Engineering Influence Podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies, coming to you from the 2023 Annual Spring Convention and Legislative Summit. Podcasts this convention are brought to you by Bentley Systems and their ProjectWise suite of infrastructure development software. And I'm very pleased to be talking about an issue which is becoming more and more a hot topic within the industry, and that's artificial intelligence, machine learning, and really that next step of computing. And fortunate enough, with our position here out in the hallway, we yesterday we're talking to some people, and lead candidate with BST Global introduced me to their CEO, Javier Baldor, and he was he was actually speaking in front of a panel discussing this topic.
Yes.
And said, hey, you want to do a podcast? I'm like, yeah, because we just started really focusing in on this. And you kind of did a broad overview of kind of three lanes with this emerging technology, AI, machine learning. And it was a packed room. And I think that shows the interest that people have. So kind of talk about what you presented yesterday and kind of just a broad overview of the subject.
Sure. Well, I spoke yesterday to how AI and big data is going to transform our industry. And I truly believe it. Some may look at it as a threat. I see it really as a tremendous prize and opportunity for our industry. And I'm a big fan of Wayne Gretzky, and he was famously quoted as saying, a good hockey player skates where the puck is, a great one skates where the puck is going to be. And I honestly believe that AI, machine learning, and big data is technologically speaking the future of our industry.
Mm-hmm.
And but I spoke to three areas, and really the first of which. A lot of hype around ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to the fact that firms need to embrace ChatGPT and really understand what it means in the first instance and how it can be applied in their business. Second stream that I spoke to is becoming data driven. I can come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then investing in machine learning. I mean, there's a really big prize there as well on the data side of things for our industry.
On ChatGPT, I mean, a lot of people out there are seeing the coverage that it gets in the media, that it's great if you want to kind of, fudge academic, final, or if you're trying to write something short form. From an engineering space, how could ChatGPT be used by a firm, especially a smaller firm? Maybe, because what I've heard was a lot of the business development and proposal writing and work that goes into that could be potentially assisted by something like an AI-driven chat GPT kind of program.
That's true.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's first to understand ChatGPT, and it burst onto the scene just last November. Million users added within 5 days. It's fastest growing application in the history of the world. I think to speak to your point, really some key use cases and opportunities, I believe. First, advanced data analysis, really big opportunity there. I believe for our industry, project management and reducing repetitive tasks, and then innovative design and delivering design in a much more cost-effective basis. You start seeing some of the studies. OpenAI and the University of Pennsylvania published a report that said 47 to 56% of current tasks could be done much faster and to the same level of quality. So we're in the early innings. I'm a big baseball person, and I think we're in the top of the first inning with regards to this type of technology, but it's so impressive in terms of what the promise that it may hold for our industry.
The more users that get involved with the project, the better it gets. It takes existing or inputted data and really has that ability to analyze a significant amount of data quickly, intuitively. And I can see its importance in project management. I mean, I'm noticing outside of engineering, in the film and production side of the world, a lot of the programs everybody relies on, the Photoshops and the like are bringing in AI, because to your point, what it does is it doesn't create anything. It creates efficiencies. It removes redundancies and creates an easier workflow from start to finish, which I imagine is attractive from a project management standpoint of removing those redundancies. Is it so much? I mean, with looking at the firm of the future and how engineering firms are going to be postured, I could imagine that it's not replacing anyone. What it's doing is it's allowing those individuals who are focused on certain areas like project management to do their jobs more efficiently, faster, and with less potential for error.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be two major implications for what I'd call the future of our industry, the future of the consultancy. I think the work product is going to change in a very meaningful way. If you take a look at Goldman Sachs, they did a study and report that said 37% of current tasks will be automated in the Americas and in Europe by AI. It's a stunning figure.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean the human involvement will diminish. There'll certainly be a QA/QC dimension to it. So that it's just going to be different and perhaps, to your point, much more efficient. I think the other side of it, the business of consulting is going to dramatically change and become data-driven.
Yeah.
Right now, historically, I've been in the industry for over 30 years. It's been fundamentally run the same way. Everything is reactive in nature, accounting-driven, accounting-focused, and I would venture to say most firms and most consultancies at this conference are using only about 4 to 5% of their data, and that is, tremendous asset. The consultancy of the future is all about data, and how do you leverage it, how do you model it, and become data-driven.
It's the model that we're seeing a lot of support software, the Autodesk, Bentleys, and the like that are moving more as a software as a service model. It's almost that the potential of engineering becoming a service. That is, you don't design the bridge, but you own the data on that design. You have that long term. You are able to use that data for a client, and then you end up actually using that as a subscription service to a bridge instead of a one-shot deal design. Is that something you think could be a potential avenue, or how do you see firms like changing their business?
I think the business model is going to dramatically change for the consultancy of the future. This industry is a tech industry. It's a data industry. And really understanding the business model and how to monetize that data, I believe is a game changer for this industry. Right now, it's very hour-centric. The work product is transferred to the client. I would argue that model should be inverted, that that data, that asset should be retained by the consultant, by the firm, and then subscribed to your very point. There's tremendous value that is being transferred to the owner of the project as opposed to the author of the project. And there's a real prize there that someone is going to figure out, because this industry is all about data. And you see it very prominently in the likes of, the Googles and the Metas and those firms. They're data companies, and they monetize their businesses in a very astute manner. I think the same thing holds promise for our industry.
It's really interesting to say, and I wonder how the industry is responding. I know there are actors within the industry that are getting it, and they're moving that way. I mean, in the audience that you had yesterday, what was the reception? What was the mix? What feeling did you get as far as this is something that this is the future and we need to be pivoting towards?
Well, I was speaking to a colleague yesterday, and we've been speaking to the move towards AI and big data probably for 2 solid years now. And something at this conference switched on where I attended a very large firm roundtable, and it was the predominant issue that was discussed. Recruitment and retention was second, but first and foremost was AI and its implications for our industry. So something has switched on. I think there's a number of firms that we're talking to right now are trying to figure out what it means to them, how it will shape their business, how it will, ultimately transform their business, and they're really in that learning mode right now. But it's the way of the future.
And it's funny because I remember being at FIDIC in Mexico City. I think that was 2019. I'm pre-pandemic, so I was fuzzy on the years. But there was a speaker who was a technologist early on the tech side of the room. One of the founding guys in the .com kind of boom, and his message was, "You're a tech company whether you like it or not.
That's true.
It's not a question of whether you are; it's a question of whether you accept the fact that you are." So that's not a new message, but to your point, it seems like it took a couple of years for people, maybe the pandemic even, to realize that we are tech companies. We are just data driven. We don't have to physically be in the office because all of our product is data. And maybe that was the pivot. Now it's a question of, okay, what do you do with it?
That's true.
How does we have talk about the ChatGPT, talking about how that could be used for creating efficiencies in project management. Now it's a question of data and how that's manipulated. You've got digital twins, of course, that are becoming more and more robust. Machine learning and data sets, being able to do significant amount of analysis, massive quantities of data in a very short time. It wouldn't take a person possible. Where do you see that?
Well, I think before you get to that step, one of the biggest challenges we see with firms, to every organization we speak with globally, they have a data challenge, and that data challenge is these disparate silos of data that they can't get their arms around. So before you can get to the prize of AI machine learning, I would argue that you need to unify your data. The good thing about it is the technologies are widely accessible, cost effective in the main. So you can use Azure Data Lake technology to begin to take structured and unstructured data from your ERP system and other systems, whether that's your CRM systems, you can have management, BIM, whatever it may be, and then unify that data. And it's certainly another issue that came up during our discussion was security. So it's got to be secured in the cloud. Number of issues with regards to cybersecurity threats and ransomware. But once you unify your data and you secure it in the cloud, you then have the prize. And the prize is making the data smart through AI and machine learning. And then you can do the things that you're speaking to, which is correlate data, mash data, and then glean insights and model the data. And that's the big shift. And I believe opportunity for our industry is how do you take unstructured data that is siloed, unify it, and then apply these technologies to glean insights.
You're seeing the trends, you're seeing where things are going, and I agree with you 100% where things are going. I think that's essentially the future. 10 years from now, when we have this convention, it's going to look completely different than it does today. And I think a lot of the affiliate members are going to be tech focused. We're going to have a completely changed kind of world. BST Global, how are you guys adapting, or how are you approaching these emerging opportunities for the industry?
Well, I see we are repositioning our company. We have a established history in terms of ERP systems. That will always be the case, but we're repositioning the company, augmenting our strategy to center around AI, becoming data-driven. The notion of what we call project intelligence, where as opposed to offering a historical position on projects, introducing AI machine learning to offer predictive positions on projects. So that repositioning is very strategic, for us, and we see a big prize for the industry, and really helping to reimagine how projects are managed and delivered in our industry.
Hopefully you've had a good amount of foot traffic in your booth.
Yeah.
Downstairs. We have a new system with kiosks. I think they're a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner. And we do appreciate your continued sponsorship of the events, and of course your close collaboration with our member firms and ACEC. I really do want to reconnect with you in the fall, because it's not that far away, but who knows what's going to happen between now and then. So,
well, I'll leave you with one final thought to contemplate. Now that you to kind of tag onto your question, how do you see things maybe 10 years from now? I harken back, and I spoke to this in my remarks, is when I started first with the business, I was traveling with a colleague. They used a Rand McNally map to get from point A to point B circa 1998, and he never got lost. But I think the future is like Waze for bringing a digital, signal-driven approach to managing your business and that data-driven environment, just like Waze does. So I think you'll see a shift from a Rand McNally type metaphor, all of the way things are done right now in our industry, to a Waze for projects and Waze for your business.
Well, that's
who knows.
Who knows? But I'll tell you what. It's if you're out there listening to this and watching this podcast, you have a son or a daughter who's going into high school and is interested in STEM.
It's all about data.
It's all about data. You don't have to just be an engineer to be in the engineering industry. Good chance you can be a data scientist or a programmer and feel comfortable at a firm, because there are going to be a lot more of them that they're going to be.
Well, I'll tell you, engineering is unbelievable. My late father was an engineer, and what an industry this is. We're blessed to have engineers shaping our world and making a better place for us. So blessed about that.
Well, do appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Again, this has been Engineering Influence Podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies, coming to you from the 2023 Annual Convention Legislative Summit. See you next time.
Cheers.